My buddy Terry Williams, the host of Greenville Grit and vice chairman of the Greenville Bond Advisory Commission. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good to see you.
Hanging in there this
Are you
morning
staying
after a
warm
late
on
night.
a cold morning?
Yeah.
And the chairman of the Greenville Bond Advisory Committee, Dennis Mitchell, who we were just talking about. Dennis is like me. He still hadn't gotten over the football game last night.
Oh, no. I was yelling so hard. I woke my kids up, baby screaming.
I actually was throwing pillows last night. I was I got a little riled up. I started throwing pillows. But, I was thinking about the headline was going to read, man has heart attack watching football game.
Yeah.
And so I decided to calm down.
Well,
It was a tough night to be a Pirate.
I
wasn't
needed
it?
something a little strong to help me go sleep last night. I was so upset.
All right, guys, you have the Bond Advisory Committee, which was appointed by the Greenville City Council to decide what to put in this potential bond in next year that the voters of Greenville will be voting on. You guys have concluded your work. You spent, about 6 months working on it, Dennis?
6 months. I think we had about 9
Since
meetings.
July.
9 or 10 meetings.
Is it
Yeah.
just since July?
But
Seemed like it was
about
longer
10
than that.
10 or 11 meetings.
So we
something
we
like
met
that.
every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We met every 2 weeks.
Well, it was a big commitment. How much did you get paid? Boy, no good deed goes unpunished, does it?
No, definitely not.
So the decision, you went into this, and we were pretty much thinking that most of the discussion was going to center around a bond referendum to try to do something about street repair and upgrading our streets in Greenville. But we had heard that there could be some other things discussed along the way. I was a little surprised to see that a brand new idea came out of this, which was a $12 million sports complex. I want to talk about that, but let me start with you, Dennis, and ask you about the work. The sense is that Greenville has some serious road issues that we haven't spent enough money in keeping up with repaving and building roads and things like that. You've been on the city council for years. Talk about the decision that was made on the street repair. What was the decision made to recommend to the city council?
Well, I mean, it was a lot of deferred maintenance going on with our streets. Everyone know, and we needed to bring down the number of years between the cycle of us repaving our roads. So we went with a decision to put about $9.9 million in roads, which includes the repaving or repair of some roads, some sidewalks, and some amenities to go along with the new Dickinson Avenue Century Connector.
How did you come up with the number $9.9 million?
Oh, it was just a package of products that were presented to us by the city staff, so it just added up.
So the city staff, the public works folks said, here's what is needed, and you looked at what was needed and said, yes, we agree with this, or no, we don't. We want to take this away or add this and that kind of thing? Yeah,
they pretty much everybody knows they were going to this serious road assessment, so we were pretty much waiting for the results of that. And then when it came back, they brought us the roads that would give us the biggest bang for our buck.
Of course, that figure was larger, and we reduced it as we could because in the beginning we were trying to stay within a certain amount of the bond because of a previous tax increase. We had to take into consideration as we were thinking about what we wanted to put in the bond, what could really get passed based on what was going to be required for a tax increase. Every $7 million, it represents about 1 cent tax increase.
Right.
So we had that to juggle as well as what we thought needed to be done. That 9.9 isn't going to take care of it. It's going to have to be more down the road.
So now, the elephant in the room, of course, is the fact that the city had already gone ahead and increased taxes 2 cents over the course of the summer. And, I know both of you have come out opposed to that idea, saying that you think that the city council did the wrong thing on that. But how much did that hamper your work, and did it come into play when you were thinking about what needed to be done?
Absolutely, it came into play, but also was recommended last night by the Bond Advisory Commission that the city repeal or repurpose that 1 cent towards paying back the debt of this bond. Right. So it wouldn't be a 2 cent tax increase, it'd be a 1 cent tax increase. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, there were so many projects that we wanted to do and get done, but people were worried about, was it going to pass because of the decision that the city council made.
I think it's important too, Henry, to remember that there may not be a tax increase.
Yes.
With the 2004 bond, there was no tax increase. There was a proposed one that was passed when it was voted in, but then they did not have to raise it. And that's a possibility if our revenues are where they need to be in the city and we find all this extra money everybody's talking about we might have, we may not have to have a tax increase.
Based on the traffic in Greenville the last 10 days, I would say business is brisk.
Yeah, I think so.
And we're actually we had somebody call in yesterday and say that the southwest end of town, up around the new Burlington Coat Factory and where the new Walmart's being built, the
crazy.
traffic over there has already turned into a real
It's
mess
crazy.
over there. So,
That's right.
all right, okay. Well, let's talk about the sports complex, Terry. How did that come about? Were there? I know we knew that you guys were going to be talking about different ideas. Did everybody just kind of bring their own ideas on what needed to be into this bond? How did some of these things come about?
Actually, the staff gave us information. I believe there was probably 16 items, right, that were brought to us, Dennis. And then we went through week after week with presentations from the staff and from different people, like Go Science did a presentation this last time. Then we tried to narrow down. In the very beginning, we ranked what we thought was important of the items. But then as we went through, that changed as we found out more information. I think one thing that came out of this last meeting was it just seemed, just for me personally, to come out of that room and only propose a bond for streets didn't make sense after all we've covered and all the needs that we have. And some of us were concerned that nothing was going on the bond that was economic development exactly. Obviously, our street repairs are going to have an effect on our economic development, but something that precisely went to supporting some economic development. We actually did vote about the town common because that is one thing that a lot of people wanted to see some work done, but based on some action the city council had taken this week and based on the fact that we all had the consensus pretty much that that plan is outdated and needs to be redone and might have to include some private-public conversation, we just didn't feel like we could vote on that. I thought it just didn't pass.
Can we get a bathroom on the town common?
Not yet.
Can we get a bathroom on the town common? We're going to have some ornamental benches.
We're not going to hear from us or the city council.
The city council decided not to spend money on building bathrooms, and then you guys did too.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our thing
How
is,
are we going to get bathrooms on the town common, guys? Come on.
like Terry said, we were started talking about town commons. I think people really want to do something, but it was evident that the city
It's not
really
time
wasn't
yet.
together with what the plan was going to be. I mean,
Right.
here you had this council going one way, the consultant saying going this way, and then the plan was totally changed from what we were looking at. So
Yeah.
it was very confusing to even talk about town commons.
And getting
Yeah.
back to the sports complex just a moment, and I did send some information to you yesterday, but when we were talking about that, I asked for some information about what had happened with Rocky Mounts, just as an example. I'd heard some very positive things about it, and then when I saw the revenue that they've been able to generate in a course of 5 years, not just 1 year, but a track record of what they've been able to do, it became interesting. So let's talk about that. But I think something else, Henry, was let's just put this out for the voters. Let the voters, every item's going to be separate. So if they vote for street repairs, they're not going to have to vote for the complex or any other item that the city council may choose to put. They can vote it down or vote for it, whichever they want. In the beginning, when it was when I made the motion, it was not for the total of $12 million. It was to get it started. $5 million for the plan, the phase one, that sort of thing. But that would not pass either because a lot of people felt like if we're going to do it, let's get it done, and so we can recognize the revenue.
People need to remember two things, right? You made a great point right there. This is going to go before the voters. The people of Greenville are going to make the decision
That's
whether they
exactly
want
right.
this or not, and there's going to be a year of discussion about it. This is November the 14th. The vote will come about this time next year.
right.
And so we've got a year to kind of examine it. But the other thing, Dennis, the city council really does not have to take your recommendation. You guys were just an advisory committee. The Greenville City Council can take 100% of what you advise and put it before the voters, or they can take part of it, or they can take none of it.
Yeah, I mean, they usually take the recommendation of the boards and commission, but I have a feeling that with me and Terry as vice chair, this will not be the case with this one. But that's absolutely correct. But the city council is pretty much not going to meet on this until January. And we all know how they are with making a decision I don't know how it's gonna go with this. I mean, there was a lot of great things that we talked about doing. We had about 6 or 7 votes. Could have went either way. So, I mean, like I said, put everything on the ballot. Let the voters choose. That's what I feel.
It's also important to, we also made some recommendations along with our proposal. We're not for this bond without a repeal of that 1 cent tax. We also felt like that they needed to talk in their planning session about a bond procedure going forward, because we're going to need this. This is how the other cities in North Carolina have been able to offer the amenities that they have, is because they keep doing a bond schedule, and keep putting things out there in front of the voters, and some are going to get passed and some are not. But there were many items like that we put forth as recommendations.
We told them that they needed to fully fund street repair every year, fully fund $2.5 million of maintenance every year, instead of only allocating $300,000 each year. That's going to put us in this situation where we're going to have to do another bond 10 years from now to take care of street repair. So it's some recommendations.
I mentioned this earlier when we talked about this yesterday. It's the first time I had known anything about it. I know you've talked about it in the bond meetings, but I haven't followed that closely every detail of what you've talked about. And I don't think this idea of a sports complex has been debated publicly.
No.
And I think there's going to have to be a lot of education for people to feel good about it. But I'll tell you this: there's a lot of interest in it, because just mentioning yesterday's show, I bet you I've had 15 emails or phone calls. People have an opinion about it and they want to talk about it.
Well, the real big thing is that Rocky Mount has one, and Kinston is talking about building one. So we call ourselves the hub of the East, and in the light of where we are, we got to step up and be what we say we are. Or we're going to see some leverage to Kinston or Rocky Mount.
Right.
That's right.
All right. Well, here's the thing. We need to thank you for the volunteer work that you guys did on this, because obviously you put a lot of time and effort into it.
Our book's about this big.
Now, is there any information online yet? I'm sure it will be, but about the sports complex or the work that you guys did and what you're proposing?
Yeah, we have a bond website. If you actually go to the City Council webpage and click on Boards and Commission, you'll see a bond advisory link. Everything we talked about, all the plans that we reviewed, everything is up there.
I think, too, Henry, for the public's benefit, there will be an advocacy committee chosen by the City Council to educate everybody, tell them all the details, and that'll come out later. I have no idea. I think in 2004 there might have been 50 people on it. I mean, it was a huge group to get the word out and explain, what it's all about.